If you are not in the mood to study using paper and pen, then stick into this video, and let's do these 20 items general information covered in the PNP entrance examination. You can answer the questions mentally before I reveal the correct answer, with explanation. So, make sure to stay in tune. 1. A court order for placement in a secure facility, separate from adults, for the rehabilitation of a juvenile delinquent. A. Summon. B. Subpoena. C. Custodial confinement. Or D. Rehabilitation order. The correct answer is D. Rehabilitation order. Youth Rehabilitation Center is a residential care facility which provides care, treatment and rehabilitation services for children in conflict with the law. 2. The filing of legal papers by a child welfare agency when its investigation has turned up evidence of child abuse. This is a civil, rather than criminal, charge designed to take preventive action, like appointment of a guardian for at-risk children before abuse occurs. A. Child prosecution. B. Child protection action. C. Parens patriae. Or D. Preliminary investigation. The correct answer is B. Child protection action. Child protection means safeguarding or preventing children from harm, which includes violence, abuse, exploitation and neglect. 3. What is the legal doctrine establishing court as determiner of best environment for raising child, which is an alternative to the parens patriae doctrine? A. Rights of society. B. Miranda doctrine. C. Best interest of the child rule. Or D. Parental obligation. The correct answer is D. Parental obligation. The causal view of parental obligations, which includes the claim that those who bring a child into existence are thereby obligated to care for that child. 4. A legal relationship between two people not biologically related, usually terminating the rights of biological parents, and usually with a trial, live-in period. Once it is finalized, the records are sealed and only the most compelling interests will enable disclosure of documents. A. Adoption. B. Foster parenting. C. Common law relationship. Or D. Brotherhood. The best answer is A. Adoption. It is the process through which a person, the adoptive parent, assumes permanent legal responsibility for a child. Adoption requires the biological parents or the ones responsible for the birth of the child to give up their legal right to custody of their child. 5. The legal process by which an arbiter or judge reviews evidence and argumentation, including legal reasoning set forth by opposing parties or litigants, to come to a decision which determines rights and obligations between the parties involved. A. Acquittal. B. Conviction. C. Adjudication. Or D. Entertainment. The best answer is C. Adjudication. 6. The most common legal grounds for termination of parental rights, also a form of child abuse in most states. Sporadic visits, a few phone calls, or birthday cards are not sufficient to maintain parental rights. A. Exploitation. B. Abuse. C. Neglect. D. Abandonment. The best answer is C. Neglect. 7. Among the following, what is the form of abuse where the use of the victim is for selfish purposes and/or financial gain? A. Verbal abuse. B. Exploitation. C. Racketeering. Or D. Cotingism. The best answer is B. Exploitation. It is the act of selfishly taking advantage of someone or a group of people in order to profit from them or otherwise benefit oneself. 8. Generally, putting to death a person, as a legal penalty, is called A. Infliction. B. Plunder. C. Murder. Or D. Capital punishment. The best answer is D. Capital punishment. Death penalty, also called capital punishment, is when a government or state executes or kills someone, usually but not always because they have committed a serious crime. 9. Anything that has been used, left, removed, altered or contaminated during the commission of a crime by either the suspect or victim is part of A. Evidence. B. Modus operandi. C. Recidivism. Or D. Preservation of crime scene. The best answer is D. Preservation of crime scene. Everything in place wherein a crime is committed or all included in the crime scene investigation. Thus, no one, except for the police officer and the forensic team, are allowed to touch anything in the crime scene. 10. Which of the following is an act committed by a juvenile for which an adult could be prosecuted in a criminal court? A. Adult offense. B. Status offense. C. Delinquency offense. Or D. Children in conflict with the law. The correct answer is C. Delinquency offense. A delinquent act is an act committed by a juvenile for which an adult could be prosecuted in a criminal court, but when committed by a juvenile is within the jurisdiction of the juvenile court. 11. A false belief based on an incorrect inference about external reality and firmly sustained despite clear evidence to the contrary, and which is not related to cultural or religious beliefs. A. False alarm. B. Wrong perception. C. Incoherence. Or D. Delusion. The best answer is D. Delusion. In the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, a delusion is defined as a false belief based on incorrect inference about external reality that is firmly sustained despite what almost everybody else believes and despite what constitutes incontrovertible and obvious proof or evidence to the contrary. 12. An abuse that is kept secret for a purpose, concealed, or underhanded is called A. Clandestine abuse. B. Clinical abuse. C. Overt abuse. Or D. Abuse of authority. The correct answer is A. Clandestine abuse. It is a sexual, psychological, or physical abuse that is kept secret for a purpose, concealed, or underhanded. 13. The negligent treatment or maltreatment of a child by a parent or caretaker under circumstances indicating harm or threatened harm to the child's health or welfare is known as A. Child abuse. B. Child neglect. C. Child dilemma. Or D. Child in conflict with the law. The correct answer is A. Child abuse. It happens when a parent or caregiver, whether through action or failing to act, causes injury, death, emotional harm or risk of serious harm to a child. 14. At trial, the authenticity of an item as evidence is crucial, whether it be a physical object like a bullet, a medical record or a photograph. The item cannot be offered in court without a testimonial sponsor who can vouch for its unaltered authenticity to the court and the jury. To validate an item's unaltered authenticity, a record must be kept of each and every time the item changes hands. This refers to A. Records management. B. Presentation of evidence in court. C. Chain of custody. Or D. Laboratory analysis of items. The correct answer is A. Records management. It is an agency-wide system that provides for the storage, retrieval, retention, manipulation, archiving, and viewing of information, records, documents, or files pertaining to law enforcement operations. 15. When we say capital offense, it means A very serious crime for which the death penalty is imposed. B. All of the above. C. The highest penalty for selected offenses. Or D. Total punishment of offender by incarceration. The correct answer is A. very serious crime for which the death penalty is imposed. 16. Allege means A. Assert or make an accusation. B. Remove from its position. C. Direct an act from doing. Or D. Intentional mutilation. The best answer is A. Assert or make an accusation. 17. What kind of assault committed when it includes kicking, punching, deliberately throwing an object and drawing a lethal weapon against someone? A. Mental. B. Physical. C. Sexual. Or D. Verbal. The correct answer is B. Physical. 18. When there is an apparent, intentional, and physically aggressive act irrespective of severity against another person, then there is A. Battering. B. Assault. C. Chaos. Or D. Crisis. The correct answer is B. Assault. It is the act of inflicting physical harm or unwanted physical contact upon a person or, in some specific legal definitions, a threat or attempt to commit such an action. 19. What aggressive behavior includes the emotional and cognitive components of aggression such as anger and hostility? A. Covert. B. Dynamic. C. Interactive.
D.
Directive. The correct answer is C. Interactive. Results indicated an interaction between emotion regulation and inhibitory control on aggression. 20. A behavior that seeks to harm a person by damaging their reputation or manipulating their relationships. A. Interactive. B. Isolated. C. Covert. Or D. Overt. The best answer is C. Covert. Hey, if you need more free review materials that cover the PNP entrance examination, do not hesitate to click or tap the screen right now for the next video.